Good evening. Welcome to our September 16th, 2021 Board of Education meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order. At this time, Ms. DeJuan Kraft will lead us in our invocation.
Thank you. Julie Hope Randall. Julie Hope Randall, age 11, of Barco, North Carolina, died on Wednesday, September 8, 2021, at Children's Hospital of the King's Daughter in Norfolk, Virginia. She was born in Glendale, Arizona on April 30th, 2010. To Mark and Heather, she was a loving and giving child whose family chose to pass along that gift of hope and life in her honor. Julie loved math and science and was looking forward to band and chorus. She loved everyone, and everyone loved her. She is survived by her parents, Mark and Stacy Lee, and Heather and Joseph, a sister, Elisa, 3 brothers, Brandon, Ethan, and Micah. Maternal and paternal grandparents, step-grandparents, and a number of stepbrothers, stepsisters, aunts, uncles, and cousins. A memorial service will be held on Sunday, September 19th, 2021, from 1 to 3 p.m. at Currituck County Middle School. A visitation, which actually was a service, was held at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021, at Twyford Memorial Chapel. Mrs. Etheridge, Dr. Lutz, Mr. Parkman, and several teachers, as well as myself, attended Julie's service on Tuesday. All of us want Julie's family to know that you are in our thoughts and prayers and that we care about you. I'd like for us to observe a moment of silence now in Julie's memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft. Tonight, our school spotlight is J.P. Knapp Early College, and Ms. Denise Fallon. If you would bring your students up and lead us in the pledge. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
These young ladies in just a few minutes, but I have Madison Bowyer and Anita Lynn, and they're going to lead us in the pledge. If you'll join us, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Fallon, for school spotlight tonight, if you want to go ahead and... That's okay.
Thank you so much.
I forgot to, Ms. Fallon.
What'd you say?
It's been so long since we had a school spotlight. I was like, whoa, don't forget.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited about it. So we have a short presentation for you this evening, but we're really excited to be here to share some great news about our school. So we are celebrating student leadership, growing student leaders, J.P. Knapp style. And so again, student leadership is one of the things that we really think is important at J.P. Knapp. And so again, we're just going to highlight a few of our student leaders this evening. We're going to start with, do I do the slide? So, thank you, Madison. So we're going to start with our recognition for our J.P. Knapp FBLA, and I'm going to invite Julie West up, our FBLA sponsor, to join us this evening. Ms. West is right there. So our FBLA chapter completed 20 membership, community service, and education activities last year. Even they had to do a lot of that virtually. It was a challenge, but they met the challenge. They have been recognized. One of the 2 North Carolina chapters that were recognized nationally with, what's the name of the award? The Outstanding Chapter Recognition. I don't have my glasses on. And again, only 74 chapters in the nation received this recognition. So we're really excited that a little old school like J.P. Knapp with an awesome group of students and one awesome CTE teacher achieved this recognition. So I just want to say hats off to them, and I'm going to let them speak to you. Ms. West, will you say just a few words about FBLA, please?
Well, first of all, I'm very proud to have such great students. You have students on your board that are FBLA members too, and I think FBLA shows what kind of leaders we do grow with that. And I'm very proud of the things you're going to see too, that I think it also leads them to other positions in other places, such as the school board, and the confidence that they get being in FBLA. So I'm really happy to be their advisor and proud of them.
Oh, look, a clicker. So you can just see here a few of the things, activities that they did last year, and the girls are going to talk about that in just a minute, but they did do a trick-or-treat drive, and you can see up in the corner when Miss West put this picture on here, I thought that was Miss Bowyer, and I said, we're going to talk about students, and no, it's Madison, and those are her two nieces, but they did a drive-through trick-or-treat, which was the kids thought was a lot of fun, and you can see some of their meetings that they still held, so that they could complete some of those activities that won them that recognition. So, again, congratulations to our FBLA. Some of our FBLA members went on to seek other leadership opportunities, so we're also recognizing those this evening. COA Student Government Association. 3 of our students ran for office at College of the Albemarle in their student government. And Madison Bowyer, who's with us this evening, is a senior, and she is the Student Government Association Secretary at the College of the Albemarle. And then Anita Lynn, that's with us this evening, she is the Vice President of that organization. She's a junior. And not with us this evening is Rachel Ballou, and she is the Senate Chair. So I'm going to let the girls speak a little bit about leadership at JP Knapp, and again, what they learned in FBLA and what they're taking with them to make a difference on COA's campus. So with that, Madison.
Hello, I am JP Knapp's FBLA president. Our chapter has been awarded with the title of Outstanding Chapter as recognition for all the hard work we've done through the past year. To receive the Outstanding Chapter award, our chapter had to complete a series of tasks meant to develop leadership, professionalism, and confidence throughout the year. I'll pass it on to Anita.
And this included recruiting new members, which we accomplished bringing us to a total of 50 members. And for a school of only 350 people, that is a lot, and that says a lot about our club and our community. Speaking of our community, we also did a lot of projects to help better our community. And for example, we planned a school cleanup, and we cleaned up a lot of the trash that had littered our ditches and just our environment in general, because we do care a lot about our environment. And again, like Fallon said earlier, we did plan a trick-or-treat drive-through, to which a lot of people came in and a lot of kids had fun, and we also donated a lot of food to our local food bank. And also the kids, they were able to connect with their environment and their community, and they were able to get candy.
And touching on that trick-or-treat drive-through, it was really nice to be able to see everyone and to do something during that time. And also, working towards this outstanding chapter was a great way to keep our members involved during quarantine. And I'm once again going to point out how important and prestigious this award is, seeing that we are one of 2 chapters in North Carolina to be awarded and one of 74 internationally. And thank you for allowing us to share our chapter's accomplishments with you tonight.
And so, again, those girls are excited about what FBLA has done, and obviously the leadership skills that they've learned through that. But I wanted them to take a moment also to speak a little bit about student government at COA.
I am a senior at JP Knapp Early College High School, but additionally, I am the newly elected secretary of the College of the Albemarle Student Government Executive Board. Seeing as I'm a part of both schools, I felt it was important that I involve myself with both equally. I have applied for this position because I believed it would allow me to meet new people and have a better relationship with the students, staff, and faculty at the College of the Albemarle. We have already come together for 2 meetings, and I can say that my belief of better companionship has reigned true, and I have already established great relationships with my other board members. And I can say with complete honesty that I'm truly excited for this year and the opportunities it'll bring to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, of course, Anita Lynn is a junior at JP Knapp, but she is the vice president of that organization at College of the Albemarle. Anita, did you want to say anything? No, she's good. Okay. That's all we have this evening. Again, we are celebrating our student leaders, and I just want to say again, thank you to Miss Julie West. She is our CTE department at JP Knapp. One strong, there we are. But she does great things with our students and our honors curriculum that she offers to students and the project management that they do. And she goes well above the standard, if you will, expectations for staff. So thank you, Ms. West. Thank you, students, for making me a proud principal. So thank you for having us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Fallon, Ms. West, thank you for everything that you do for our students. And Madison and Anita, great job. Keep up the good work. And you look just like your mother, just as beautiful as your mother. Okay, next we have the public comment session. The public comment session is a time when an individual or a group can address the board about our schools. This is not a time to speak about issues or concerns involving identifiable personnel or students. Matters of this nature should be submitted in writing to the superintendent, and your concerns will be addressed. Individuals or groups will be called in order in which they signed up and will be asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. And we did have one person sign up tonight, Mr. Jason Smith. If you'll come to the podium and state your name and your current mailing address.
My name is Jason Smith at 187 St. Andrews Road in Mayock. Good afternoon, school board, county officials, and citizens of Currituck. We should all be thankful we do not have one of the power-hungry, tyrannical school boards we have seen maliciously jeopardizing the health and innocence of our children around the country. We have good people who surely weren't looking to make such difficult decisions on our kids' health and future when they decided to be on the school board. They have proven they have our children's best interests at heart, both when they voted unanimously to make masks optional and when they were strong-armed to make mask mandates by the baseless, ill-advised quarantine policy in place by the health department. This is like putting new tires on your car because you blew your engine. That solution does not fix the problem. Masks do not stop the spread of COVID-19. I have shared with the school board links to 47 peer-reviewed scientific studies to this fact. Again, masks do not stop the spread of COVID. We could all wear a silly cloth mask to appease the minds of people who choose to live in fear. This isn't the problem. The problem is that extensive mask wearing is very unhealthy and harmful. Research proves that mask wearing decreases oxygen levels in the blood by 20%, which can lead to headaches, loss of consciousness, CO2 retention, stressing the brain, and impairing brain development. Adverse skin reactions, including yeast and fungal infections, inflammation of the gums, cavities, and periodontal disease, which could eventually lead to a risk of strokes or heart attack. Behavioral effects include loss of self-identity, false sense of security, and anxiety. Inhalation of synthetic particles from the mask, which could lead to fibrotic lung disease, mask-induced exhaustion syndrome, and as the mask saturates with moisture from your breath, is more likely to trap viral, bacterial, mold, and fungal particles to be easily inhaled. This is a quote from German doctor Marguerite Griess-Briesen. To deprive a child or an adolescent's brain from oxygen or to restrict it in any way is not only dangerous to their health, it is absolutely criminal. Oxygen deficiency inhibits the development of the brain, and the damage that has taken place as a result cannot be reversed. I feel there is an opportunity for Currituck County to lead the way in overcoming the chaos, censorship, and misguidance of the fear-mongering bureaucratic agencies in D.C., unethical, biased media, and paid-off institutional propagandists who choose to operate in a science vacuum and only push inaccurate science that serves their interest. It is nonsensical, illogical, and patently absurd what these agencies and so-called experts spew to us daily. Much of it is just plain wrong. We urge you to think through carefully. Any available evidence must be considered when the health of our children is at stake. Minor risks can turn into major disasters, just like leaks in a dam. I propose that we work together, the health department, the school board, the school nurses, parents, teachers, and students, to create a better learning environment and healthier community. The health department should encourage the same common sense health practices that have been in place for the past 100 years. If you're sick, stay home from school. If you have to sneeze or cough, cover your face and your elbow or shirt collar. Encourage taking vitamins like C, D, and zinc to build healthy immune systems. Eat healthy and exercise. The bottom line is we must learn to live with COVID. Mask or no mask, vaccine or no vaccine, most everyone will catch it at some point, just like the common cold. We cannot live in fear. We cannot live hiding behind a useless mask. Members of the school board, you should not bear the lifelong burden of unintentional harm to our children, but if you choose to maintain the mask mandate, that burden could be yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, when we get to the consent agenda, I'd like to make one change in the August 5th minutes when we get there, before we
Okay.
vote on the consent agenda.
And I also, item 7, would like to make sure we revisit that policy 4400 on attendance, specifically the makeup work clause.
Okay. When we get there, if you want to exclude those two items from the consent agenda.
I don't want to exclude. I just
Exclude
want
them,
to
but
change.
you want to change the wording? Okay. All right.
I just want to make sure it's on another agenda.
Yeah, okay. All right, we have a first, we have a second.
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Student Board Member Report. Albert, would you like to start us off?
I'll start us off this evening. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start off by saying that I've seen a lot of exciting things happening around our county, and Albert and I are excited to share all these great happenings tonight. Central Elementary School. Great things are happening at Central. We are busy establishing routines and building relationships. We are ready to grow and learn. We are excited to launch our school-wide theme, Eagle Genre Adventure. Students will learn about different types of literacy and enjoy enriched activities as the entire student body explores different genres. Soon the hallways will display wonderful student artifacts. Come and see. We are also excited to share our core values. Be kind, be safe, be smart. We are truly ready for great things this year. Currituck County High School. As they say around here, once a night, always a night. Next, I want to make sure that we salute Ms. Poor for gathering information that helps make the weekly Currituck Night Stakeholder Bulletin a possibility. Thank you, Ms. Poor. Continue to inquire about the ACT Word of the Week. Your students should tell you what it is and how they incorporate it into their vernacular. Finally, we had our upcoming opening house this Wednesday, and it was a great success. Kathy Blades, thank you for all your efforts in distributing Chromebooks. We appreciate and value you. Congratulations to Mr. Weeks and our magnificent marching band and their performance during our Friday night varsity football game against Lake Taylor. It was great seeing the many teachers and staff members during our Friday night football game. Our support makes a difference. Currituck County Middle School. A special shout out to the members of the Jarvisburg Church of Christ. They have donated tissues, hand sanitizer, and provided treats and goodies for our faculty and staff. Our book fair will be in full swing from September 20th through the 24th. Reading is fun, reduces stress levels, and is one of the best exercises for your brain. Buy your next favorite book at our book fair. Finally, for the second year in a row, Currituck County Middle School recently received a banner and trophy for taking second out of all Division III schools in Vocabulary.com's Vocabulary Bowl, beating thousands of competing schools from across the country. Way to go, Raiders. Griggs Elementary School. We are excited to be back at school face-to-face with our students. Our students are engaged in their daily activities throughout the day, and their smiles brighten up the school building. Our entire staff has been working nonstop since the beginning of the school year to ensure that the needs of our students are met. We are excited about our RISE reading program. Ms. Marler was instrumental in getting it to full operation this week. Picture Day is happening today. Thursday, September 16th, the students are dressed to impress. Tomorrow, we have our first Superhero Spirit Day. Can't wait to see all of our favorite superheroes. Our book fair is coming. You are cordially invited to our book fair, Monday, September 20th through Friday, September 24th. Shopping hours are 7:30 through 3 p.m., Monday through Thursday, and Friday from 7:30 to 10 a.m. Hope to see you there. JP Knapp Early College. Congratulations to the JP Knapp's FBLA chapter. The JP Knapp chapter was one of 2 NC FBLA chapters that were recognized at the national level for being an outstanding chapter. Only 74 chapters internationally achieved this recognition. Way to go, Miss West, sponsor, and FBLA. JP Knapp 10th graders visited the COA Currituck campus on Monday, September 13th. This college visit will help students and staff begin to fine-tune their 4-year plans. JP Knapp 10th and 11th grade students will participate in job shadowing October 18th through 19th. Students are currently working on community placements, and support is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Daniel. Albert?
Jarvisburg Elementary School. JES had a very successful Title I Family Night. Teachers created Google Slides and YouTube videos for families to participate in STEM activities at home. A school-wide kickoff event was held during the day with donations from community sponsors. With a grant from the Duke Energy Foundation for the individual STEM student kits, we were able to allow all students to receive materials to take home. Prizes were awarded to the top participants as well. We had a great Teacher Appreciation Week with support from our PTA and JES families last week. It has been a great year at JES. We are thankful to everyone who has supported us during this challenging time. We could not have done it without you. Knott's Island Elementary School. Knott's Island Elementary has been bustling with activities. We hosted a parent listening session as part of our district strategic plan. We hosted a successful week-long family reading engagement event. Last week, we celebrated our awesome teachers, and we are gearing up to finish the year strong. Moyock Elementary School. MES students will be honored with an IC celebration and dunk tank. The top 3 classes in math and the 40 book challenge will get to have their teacher dunked. Lots of exciting things are happening as we start the 2021-2022 school year. Moyock Middle School. MMS had a very exciting Teacher Appreciation Week with lots of our TLC for our staff. We are also very excited to announce that our golf team also took home championship trophy this year. Charbrough Elementary School. The SES outdoor classroom is complete. Students will begin using this classroom this week. Check out pictures on our Facebook page. This project was made possible by all parents, families, and friends who contributed to our Boosterthon fundraiser last year. An additional thank you to local community members who made financial and time donations to help the completion of this project.
I'd also like to bring up one other thing real quick. So, Governor Cooper declared this week Celebrate the Arts Week for all NC schools. I'd like to thank and celebrate our arts teachers throughout our county, whether that be visual or performing. They have made great strides in our programs. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you both. And thank you for being here tonight. Now we have end of grade and end of course testing data with Dr. Matt Lutz, Superintendent, and Sandy Reynolds, our Chief Information Officer.
Thank you, Board, for this opportunity to go over the testing data from the end of the year from last year, and the opportunity to go over it in more detail at the work session, but for our community and families to also see this information. So, just to put perspective to what you're getting ready to see, last year, as you all know, we started completely virtual, pre-K through 12th grade. Staff members came back into the building as that was what we deemed was the best thing for them to be able to provide that instructional delivery for students. Elementary school students were brought back in October. Since we were required to have a virtual option by the state, we did start the K-5 Virtual Academy at that time. A month later, or 3 weeks later in November, we brought back the middle school students in a hybrid model with a group remaining virtual, and then in January we brought back our high school students, again on a virtual model with some students staying virtual. So we found out February, March time that we were still going to be required to do testing at the end of the year, and it would be required to be in person. We then found out that they were going to allow us to apply for a waiver for some of our ESSA requirements to not be held against us, and the one that they waived was the 95% participation rate just for the school year. So our LEA data from last year, this is our elementary school data, and you can see the red. The blue column is our Currituck County Schools data, and the red is the state data from last year in grades 3 through 5. Although we all want higher proficiency scores, we did score higher than the state in all areas. This is our middle school data. Again, we were higher in all areas except 7th grade reading, 8th grade reading, and 8th grade math. The LEA is our data, and the red is the state. And our high school chart, this is, again, blue is us and red is the state, and we were above the state in all areas this past year. To break it down further, our elementary schools, Central Elementary was above the state in all areas except 4th grade math and 5th grade reading. Their participation in in-person testing was over 90%. For Griggs Elementary, they were above the state proficiency in reading math, 3rd grade math, and 4th grade reading. They had over 95% participation in in-person testing. Jarvisburg was above in all areas except 3rd grade reading, 4th grade reading, and 4th grade math. They were above 95% participation except for 3rd grade for in-person testing. Knott's Island Elementary was above the state in all areas except 4th grade math, 5th grade reading, and 5th grade math. They were over 95% participation in in-person testing. Moyac Elementary, above in all areas except 5th grade reading, and they had over 95% participation as well. Shawboro was above in every area. They had over 95% participation except for 4th grade. They had 93 for 4th grade reading and 92 for 4th grade math in-person testing. For our middle schools, Currituck County Middle, they were equal or above the state rate in 6th grade reading and 6th grade math. They had over 95% participation except for their grade 8 test. They had 92%. So all of their testing was above 92%. In-person testing. Moyac Middle School, they were equal or above the state rate in all areas except 8th grade math, and they had over 95% participation in all areas except 6th grade math. They were just shy at 94% for in-person. Our high school data for Currituck County High School, they were equal or above the state rate in all areas except Math 3. Their participation varied between Math 1 at 88% to Math 3 and English 2 at 93% participation. And our students at JP Knapp, they were above the state rate in all areas. They had over 95% participation in in-person testing. The question has obviously come up since March 2020 when we started talking about COVID for the first time and went to remote instruction about what does that look like. Since our elementary school, to give some perspective, since our elementary school students that were in virtual academy were still tied to their home schools for data purposes, their data was in the previous charts that you saw. But to give some pull-out data, we did hand calculate some proficiency scores for you to give you some idea of where they fell out. So these were all hand calculated and above the state rate in all areas except 4th grade reading, 4th grade math, 5th grade math, and 5th grade science. As far as our virtual academy students in K-5, we had 84% or higher that came back, depending on the subject, to come in and take in-person testing. I do not have it divided out by middle or high school, because middle and high school came back on a hybrid model. They had the same teachers for the whole semester or the same teacher for the whole year, and it was a much more fluid transition between in-person and virtual, so there was not a clear distinction of people who stayed virtual the whole time or had come back for in-person. The next thing that comes up is, well, what does this mean? Like, what did it look like prior to? We didn't have any 1920 scores because we ended the year remotely. We did not test at the end of that school year. So we went back and looked at 2 years ago. So what you're getting ready to see is the comparison between our 18-19 scores and this past year. So our elementary school proficiency, as you can see across the board, blue is 18-19 data and red is 2021 data. As you can see, we've dropped in every area. So even though our LEA scores were above the state, we're still significantly lower than where we were 2 years ago. We certainly want to do something to recover the learning loss that's been a hot topic of discussion since March 2020. Our middle school data, again, 18-19 is blue, 2021 is red. And you can see, again, we dropped in all areas. And our high school data, blue, 18-19 school data, and red, 2021. We did actually increase on English 2 and ACT, but dropped in the other 3 areas. So, what is our, plan moving forward? Ms. Christy Hodges is going to come up right behind me and give you some more details about what our response will be to try and recover learning loss and get our schools and our student proficiency back on track by implementing the curricular strategic plan that we've been working on. We've also provided a great deal of vetted resources that are aligned with standards that she'll talk about in more detail. The training piece, I did want to highlight that we are in the last year of our DLI implementation grant. As soon as the state decides on a budget, we should receive those funds, which will allow us to have our second digital teacher leader cohort and provide additional training for those groups, as well as continue to work with our cohort, first cohort. And then we're also grateful that the board has supported us in using a portion of the ESSER funds to provide some training with our administrative team and our coaches about the John Hattie's instructional strategies that have a research-based high effect size, and we're very hopeful that that will, again, lead us in the right direction. And again, just want to say that we are very appreciative of your support and the commissioner's support in hiring the additional instructional coaches. They'll be invaluable to providing what the teachers can need and in a more timely manner, and we're excited to see what could happen with that.
Sandy, I have a question.
Sure.
Well, I'm glad you didn't stop speaking because of the red flashing light there, number one.
Sorry, I don't know how to cut it off.
And my question is, in your opinion, how many districts in the state would you say their scores dropped from 2018, 2019 to 2020-21?
I don't have hard data to support.
Just in your opinion.
In my opinion, I have yet to hear anybody who said that they felt like there wasn't a loss in their data and in their students' learning over the past 18 months.
Because of the type of instruction, it's almost to be expected that we wouldn't, score as high.
Yeah, I mean, I love technology, working with the technology department, obviously, but everything does not equate from in-person to virtual, and it just doesn't.
True.
So.
Well, they missed a lot of the collaboration with one another, and that's very valuable in itself.
Well, and I was able to speak to the board several months ago and, highlighted what we did do. I am proud of, what we were able to do. We did the best we could under the circumstances, and the teachers did what they could, and we're just, we're ready for Christy's plan to be rolled out and for us to all be on board with helping implement that.
Well, you did an amazing job and kept us going throughout all of this mess, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. So next we have Dr. Matt Lutz, our superintendent, and Christy Hodges, and they're going to discuss our strategic plan and let us know what they have in store for us.
So before Christy starts, this is our long-range plan. So this is our response to what we just saw in the data, and we know that we can do better. And we've been preparing for this, and we're ready for the journey. So take it away, Christy.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, student board members, and Dr. Lutz. And Sandy, while I love that you called this Christy's plan, it was a collaborative effort, and you were very much a part of it. So thank you. I am excited tonight to present this plan to you. As Dr. Lutz stated, this is a 3 to 5 year curricular strategic plan, and we are in year 1 of implementation. So you're going to see areas where we focused on in year 1, and then you're also going to see areas where we need attention in years 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how we got to where we are today with this curricular strategic plan. In looking at the timeline, this process began over 9 months ago with an initial conversation in December of 2020. The work that took place in the spring of 2021 was mirrored after Mitch Owen's work on the district strategic plan. We held listening sessions with elementary, middle, and high school teachers. We interviewed teachers in specialty areas, and we interviewed all administrators. Over the course of those couple of months where we held listening sessions, we collected over 1,800 data points that drove some of the decisions that you're going to hear about tonight. One of those decisions was to provide differentiated PD for our teachers. Teachers said to us, we don't mind professional development. We know it's important, but allow us some choice. And we did that at Convocation when we offered 75 breakout sessions so that they could choose where they needed to go. As part of the work, the team created a curricular belief statement. I'd like to read it to you, and then I want to unpack it. Currituck County Schools believes all students deserve equitable access to rigorous instruction, standards-aligned curriculum, and high-quality learning resources. We didn't get to this in one conversation. It took a lot of dialogue and a lot of conversation about what really mattered to us. And so what I want to unpack are these statements. I want to unpack rigorous instruction, standards-aligned curriculum, and high-quality learning resources. When we look at rigorous instruction, if you were to go online and Google rigor, you'd see a lot of different definitions. In education, it's commonly applied to lessons that encourage students to think deeply rather than to just memorize and recall. When we talk about standards-aligned curriculum, this is where I get really excited. We had over 60 teachers, different teachers in our district, give up some of their time this summer, even in the spring, to create district pacing guides in the areas of math, reading, ELA, science, and social studies at the K-8 level. And we also had high school teachers come in. And in this first year, we focused on our 4 EOCs. There's a lot of courses at the high school level, and we had to start somewhere. So we created pacing guides with the help of teachers in the area of biology, English 2, Math 1, and Math 3. In addition to that, we created unit assessments to provide some commonality within our schools at the district level. One of the most powerful things about a district pacing guide is if you implement it with fidelity as a classroom teacher, you can, with 100% certainty, say at the end of the school year that you have taught the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. And that's a pretty powerful statement, and I'm very proud of the work that we did. I'd also like to unpack high-quality learning resources. As part of the curricular strategic plan work, we vetted resources. And so when you vet, you look at the why. Why are you choosing this? What is its purpose? Is it research-based? What does the data tell us about this resource? So we selected some resources that we wanted all teachers to use in their classrooms in our district. With that being said, I want to give a side note as well. Teachers find great resources all the time. They're forever looking. So we didn't want to say, no, you cannot use that resource. So we created a vetting process where teachers can go to their administrator, have a conversation, and from there, the administrator goes through a process that we have created that asks them questions and really thoughtfully think through the choice of the resource you want to bring into your classroom. Once that application is completed, the instructional coaching team will sit down and we'll vet it a little bit further. And then we will reach back out to the administration team and say, this looks like a great resource. It complements the work that we're doing on the curricular strategic plan, and we certainly accept this. Or, on the other hand, we may say, this is not a resource that's in the best interest of our students, and so we may often say no. So the next statement is our mission statement, and this is the how part. How are we going to do what we just said in the belief statement? It reads, Currituck County Schools will ensure our instructional staff is provided with clear curriculum expectations, training, vetted resources, and continued support to grow our students into the best version of themselves. I'd like to unpack this one as well. There are 4 key words here that I want to, word sets that I want to pull out here. And again, words matter. I want to pull out clear curriculum expectations for you, training, vetted resources, and continued support. So what you're going to see here is the same format that I'm also going to share with you in the 6-8 model as well as the 9-12. This is K-5, and you have our 4 core content areas. You have ELA, science, social studies, and math. And if you notice, at the top of every one of those are our district pacing guides. You also see guided reading, writing instruction, math cluster assessments. You also see only one parameter in the social studies piece. Before this curricular plan, we did not have pacing guides in social studies. And so that was our heavy lift in year 1. We hope to revisit this in year 2 and 3 to add to that. Curricular parameters provide clear curriculum expectations for our teachers. And looking at page 2 of this document, you're going to see the vetted resources that the team deemed important to support the curricular parameters that are in our classrooms. You're going to see the terms expected use and optional use. Expected means that when I come into a classroom, an administrator comes into the classroom, you visit the classrooms like I saw Ms. Peters today, that you should see these things in the classroom. We should see this on a teacher's planning document. And then when you go down to optional use, these are where the school level has the option to use these resources. We are going to monitor the use of these resources, and we were blessed with being able to leverage the ESSER funding to support the purchase of these materials. When we go to 6-8, again, you're going to see the same layout there. Thank you, Sandy. So we have the 4 core subject areas, and again, you'll see the pacing guide, and you'll see areas where we have work to do in years 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you go down, Sandy, you'll see also, again, a list of vetted resources. Again, these are designed to support the curricular parameters that are part of clear expectations. And then the optional use piece. And then when we get to 9:12, I'm going to front load for you for just a minute. This is where a lot of our work has to be done. In year one, we recognize that there's a lot going on curricular-wise in the high school. Where do we start? And we started with our 4 EOCs. As you can see here, we created district pacing guides and unit assessments. We're very proud of that work, but we also recognize we still have a lot to do. And then if you go down and look at page 2, you see again that same format with expected use. The resources that you see here, as well as the resources on K5 and 6-8, are both printed and digital resources. And so we're very excited to offer both of those. And in going back to take a final look at the mission statement, the two other words that I want to combine are training and support, continued support. When we met with our teachers and held listening sessions, they were very honest with us, which was beneficial. And there were no surprises. We reflected and we knew what they were going to say to us for the most part. And one of the things they talked to us about training is they said we did some things really well, which was nice. And then they said you need to get your act together in some other areas. One of the things that they said we did well was when we initially provide a resource, we do a really good job of informing them how do you use it. But where we dropped the ball is the continued support. And so that was part of why we added that piece to our mission statement. And how's that going to happen? Our instructional coaches are going to be a key role in that. And Sandy mentioned a big thank you to the commissioners. We have instructional coaches that are touching all of our schools in the district, and we're most excited about that. They're also going to provide the training. We have our literacy specialist, who is also a new position in our district, who right now is in the schools providing phonics support for our teachers. And so we're going to be able to provide support throughout the year. Our instructional coaches are also holding weekly PLCs in our schools, and that's a huge part of that ongoing support and training that they're going to need. I'm very proud of this work. It is a collaborative effort. There were many hands in this process, and it's exciting to have a clear vision for curriculum in our district, and I thank you for the opportunity to share tonight.
Christy, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked you in the work session, because a lot of people listening now may not have been listening to the work session. How are you going to ensure that the pacing guides are not only implemented but used?
So that's still a great question, even though I've heard it. It's a collaborative effort again, and it begins with our classroom teachers. Our classroom teachers hopefully will trust us. The creation of those pacing guides were done by their colleagues. That's the most powerful way. It wasn't where I sat down or Sandy sat down and created the science ones. You know, that's her wheelhouse. It was a collaborative effort on teachers that created the pacing guides. So teachers are going to have to use those pacing guides. In addition to those teachers, our instructional coaches are going to have to monitor the use of that. Monitor it, not in an evaluative form, but monitor it so I can see where you need support. Where is it that maybe there's a disconnect or a lack of understanding or time management, because that's what a pacing guide is about. The next layer of that is with our admin team. There were many conversations when we had early on in the design of the curricular strategic plan that they were the critical piece in this whole process. And so it's real important that when a principal goes into the classroom, that they take a look at the pacing guide. They have it as in a paper form for them, as well as on the website. And so they have access to it, and when they walk in to do an observation or do a pre-conference and have a conversation, that they say, where are you in the pacing guide? And they have those critical conversations so that at the end of the year, when standards are supposed to be mastered, that there is there's an assurance that that's going to happen. I also think I'm responsible as part of that process too. Especially in my new role. Part part of this role is to lead the instructional team, and we have curriculum conversations every week. And then part of this also rests on Ms. Dowdy and Dr. Lutz. So it really is a collaborative effort to ensure that this work gets done.
Thank you. Another question. Next year, are you going to look at longitudinal data? For example, how did this year's third graders do next year's fourth? If they improved, why? If they didn't, why?
Yes. I think one of the things that we're going to look at is both qualitative and quantitative data. I'd like to see growth. I'd love for Sandy to stand up in front of you next year and be able to provide for us that data that shows we've grown. But I also think we have to look at that qualitative data as well. And we've already made strides in the classroom. In our work session, I believe it was you, Ms. Etheridge, that talked about behaviors and changing. And change sometimes is not easy. There's stages of change, just like there's stages of grief. And one of them sometimes is, it can be anger. And so what we have to do is really, that's that qualitative data where we have a coach that's been invited into a classroom for the first time after being there for a month. And so we will look at a lot of different pieces of data to determine whether or not year one was a success.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
to
you
let
so
the
much,
parents,
Ms.
oh, I'm
Hodges.
sorry.
Go
To
ahead,
let
Ms.
the
Peters.
parents understand too, a lot of this of what we've been talking about is to help with what's going on at each of the schools be uniform. So like we talked about in the work session a lot is what a fifth grade teacher at Knott's Island's teaching similar to what's being taught at Griggs and vice versa. And this will all help that so that there's a lot of that going on in the district as well.
You are correct.
Right.
I think Ms. Hodges articulated very well about how important we all have to work together to get this done. But ultimately, our business, and we've talked about this numerous times, is education and providing that for our kids. And this is our plan to do that. And it is not okay if fifth grade science class is not getting the same access from end to end in our district. All of our children deserve that, and this is our plan to address those issues. And I thank Christy and her team for their work in bringing this to fruition. And it was very organic in nature, and the amount of input, I think, adds tremendous amount of value to the plan, and I believe it's going to ultimately allow it to be successful.
And I think that this presentation speaks to the fact of why it's so important for us to have the half-day Fridays for our teachers to be able to collaborate and work together and make sure they're on the same page and have y'all have the time to work with them and continue to offer staff development.
I have one question. Pre-COVID, we talked about high school accreditation, and obviously we couldn't begin working on that and with COVID and their children not there, but where are we now with that?
It's in our strategic plan, our overall plan, and that will be worked on this year with the goal to complete it in 22-23. But it is in movement already. We plan on getting our strategic plan up on the website within the next month, and will be out there, and that is a non-optional piece. We're going to accomplish it, and we're going to start with our high school and go from there. I did also want to add one more. We mentioned using ESSER funds for this. Mm-hmm. We were prepared to find our own local dollar as well to ensure that our kids get the best quality education. But anytime we can use federal dollars to leverage to save local, we're going to do that. And I want to be. But this was important enough. We were going to find what we needed to do elsewhere. But we were fortunate when the ESSER funds came in. That we're able to leverage those funds to support our students.
Very impressed with all of this that's come together, and I think our students will certainly benefit from all the planning and hours that's gone into it.
Thank you.
Yes. And will this be posted on the school website? This data?
That presentation will be in the board minutes
as
of tomorrow. Yes.
Because I think for parents to look at, it's important to see with, just simply looking at how important it is and why we're working so hard, and Dr. Lutz and your staff, everyone's working so hard to keep our kids in school. And I think a lot of this goes to show, why that's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Ms. Hodges, thank you again for your hard work and dedication to our students and your team. Please let them know how thankful we are.
I will. Thank you.
Safe Schools Update. Ms. Virginia Arrington and Dr. Lutz.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, student board members, Dr. Lutz. I'm going to share updates starting with some COVID numbers and then with some testing updates that we have. This is our overview of positives and quarantines each week since school started. If you'll note, the beginning of school, the first week of school, we had 11 positives and 140 quarantines. At the end of the week, the board met and had serious discussion about mask mandates for students in the school building and made that decision to switch to masks with students and staff. So that moved us into August 30th through September 2nd. In that week, we had 188 quarantines. We knew that number was going to be large because when we're doing contact tracing, we have to go back 48 hours and look at the last known contacts. And so the beginning of the week started off with high numbers, and at the end of the week, it tapered off a little bit. By September 6th, we had been in school with masks, and our positives were at 55. As you can see, our quarantines went down significantly. And then for this week to date, which is only 4 days so far, we've quarantined 10 people this week. And I will bring up something that Dr. Dobney brought up at the work session. We're looking at an average of 10 days of quarantine per student. And so if you multiply that times 140 quarantines or 188 quarantines, we're looking at a lot of days missed of school in the first 2 weeks of school. The next item is diagnostic testing. We are partnering with a company through DPI and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services to provide diagnostic testing for students and staff. Diagnostic testing refers to the testing when an individual is symptomatic or when an individual has been determined to be a close contact with a COVID positive case. Again, there are lots of services provided by the company, and we only opted into diagnostic testing. That testing began on Monday, September 13th, and if a symptomatic student is being sent home, the nurse can test the student before they go home. If a student is determined to be a close contact, the parent will need to bring the student back to school at the 5-day mark so they can be tested. And that testing will be a car visit. We are not bringing the students back into the building when they are on quarantine. Parents can opt into this program by signing up their children at the testing site, the testing link of their home school. And if you have students at multiple schools, then you, again, enroll your students at their home schools. However, if you have more than one student in your family that needs to be tested, then you can only report to one school. We do want to make that convenient for parents, as well as occasionally school nurses miss school, and we have sub-nurses, and the sub-nurses have not been trained in the testing. And so we will work with families to provide the next convenient location for them so that they can get tested in a timely manner. One of the benefits of opting into the COVID testing program was that we get test results back within 24 hours. And with a negative result, a student can come back to school. And so the turnaround time is quicker and for getting the results. We have been in contact with the health department and various pediatricians and doctors' offices around, and they are just overwhelmed themselves. So it is a service that gets that done quicker for students and families. At this time, 896 staff and students are enrolled to participate in the program. And if there's anybody that wants to sign up that has not signed up, can go to their school's website. In the scrolling bar, there's a COVID student testing. Click on that link, and you can register. If you are undecided and you don't know whether you want to have that happen until you are posed with that decision individually, then you can always sign up at that time that it's needed if you wish to do so. There were a couple of things that came up with the program. So when you go to the HIPAA form and you click to accept that, the HIPAA form is one comprehensive form from the company. So that HIPAA form does speak to vaccinations, screenings, diagnostic testing, a variety of services that can be offered from that company. We are not offering any service besides diagnostic testing. And again, parents have to opt in for that testing to participate. And if you wish your child to have the diagnostic testing, we are also, at the time that it's needed, contacting the parent and having a conversation. So, for example, if your child is in first grade, the school nurse is going to call the parent and say that the child is symptomatic. We know that you've opted in for the testing program. Do you wish your child to be tested at this time? And if the parent says yes, then the school nurse will let them know that the child will not receive the test until the parent is there and present. Young children, parents don't want young children to have that test without the parent being present. So we are going to wait until the parent is present for that. For grades 6 through 12, similar conversation. However, we will ask the parent at that point, do you want us to test the child while you're on your way, or do you want us to wait for you to get there? And then they can have that choice whether for us to go ahead and do it or wait for the parent to be there. Again, parents deserve the right to make that choice. The other thing that has come to light with the HIPAA and signing up is there is a statement that talks about when you sign up, it's for a 5-year period of time. That is, in fact, universal to the company. It's part of their language that they use, and there is an opt-out. So, for example, if a family's in the military and they opt into the program and they are moving to another state and they don't know if that school system is working with this company or if this data will be available, then they can put in writing to opt out of the program at any time that they wish to do so. Are there any questions?
Yes, I'd like to make a more specific statement about the first 2 weeks of school. We had 328 students miss at least 3,280 days because of quarantines. The last almost 2 weeks, we only had 39 students miss 390 days, and that's a significant drop.
Significant, yes, sir. And that was one of the reasons that you all made the decision, is so that we would ultimately have less quarantines according to the guidelines that we have to follow with the Strong Schools Toolkit, so that we could keep students in school.
So just to clarify, because we are making everyone wear masks, when a child has COVID and someone's near them and they're both wearing masks, there is no quarantine.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's why our numbers have been reduced. So the masks have been a good thing for keeping kids in school.
Yes. And we'll continue with the masks for this period of time until something changes. We'll revisit it each month. We've continued to do that. We've revisited many times and had several special meetings, and we'll continue to do that. I also, and Ms. Rose, you had brought it up, that we are doing deep cleanings again in our buildings. We're having the Clorox team head through. They're not really the Clorox team, but but they do. They're hitting all the buildings at least once a week, after everyone's gone and just doing a general disinfection.
Are children allowed to have a water bottle? Are they allowed to have
They are
water
allowed
bottles?
to have a water bottle.
Okay, because I would think that would help with the mask on.
And can we make sure that the kids that don't, I mean, I see the kids with them all the time. You know, my daughter takes one every day, but because we do the water bottle stations are being set up in the schools. I saw those today. So, I mean, can we make sure that any child that needs one can have access to one?
We have, like regular water bottles. So if students don't have a water bottle, one that they can bring every day, or if they forget it at home, various people have water bottles that they can have a bottle of water, and then they can refill that.
Okay, good. Because you would hate for, you know how it is with kids, especially the little ones, when their friends are filling them up, they all want to fill one up too. So just want to make sure that, any child that wants one has access to that.
Yes, ma'am.
We also monitor very closely for any case where there may be classroom spread or any. And we've been in school in the elementary division since last October. We have not witnessed that. We have not seen it. We track it very closely. I want to continue to assure the public that we do watch, and we are equally concerned in case there ever was an outbreak. But all of our cases, both high school, middle school, and elementary, they all trace back to families or friends. And there has been no evidence of any spread from one student to another while they've been in school.
So no clusters in Currituck?
That is correct.
Clusters in Currituck schools.
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 Okay.
That's right.
But we are prepared if there was one to arise, because our school, an individual school could close, not the whole district.
Absolutely, and I do think the other thing that occurred is after I would say almost hit our stride up the first couple weeks, people figured out, okay, let's watch distancing when we can. Let's take our mask off to eat, and then let's go outside and finish when we're done. I think there was just our kids had to find their stride, especially our older ones who are 6-12 students who hadn't been in school, many of them for over a year and a half, just so that kids want to be here. They're very excited. We had very few withdrawals. Parents are happy their kids are back in school. But parents, along with teachers and our students, I think all just said, okay, how do we make this work? How do I keep my kids in school? It's very disruptive to have almost 4,000 missed student days and have parents have to stay home and so on and so forth. So I applaud our community as well for stepping up and saying, okay, how do we make this work given the current circumstances?
I know that our elementary children get recess every day, and that fresh air, I'm sure, does them good. I wish there was a way that our middle school and high schoolers could have some sort of an outside break, too.
I would hope that we're going out at lunch at minimum.
I was just getting ready to say, I was at the high school last week, and lots of them were out in the
Middle area.
In the middle
Yeah, in
area.
the courtyard.
Yeah.
I think we need to utilize that space as much as possible, especially with fall, upcoming, nice climate outside, and take advantage of that in the fresh air. So if we could, just get out as much as possible before cold weather.
And I do think the secondary grade levels with PE, that they're doing as many outdoor activities right now as they can with the weather being good.
And I know that would be 6 through 9, but when you get to 10 through 12, but I hope so.
Yes.
Have we had we're talking a lot about the health and, the physical part, but what about the mental part? Are our kids adapting? Do we have any data? I mean, I don't really mean data, I guess feedback. Are our kids, I mean, today, like I said, I was at about 4. The elementary school kids seem to bounce back. They always seem to be
resilient. They just do.
But what about the middle school and high school? I mean, you hear from a lot of parents about, especially the ones who did stay virtual as long as they could, about their, anxiety and anxiousness and just.
Well, many of those were probably left at home. Parents had to go to work, whereas the younger ones, the parents couldn't leave them at home. They had to stay with them. So it's not good to be alone.
We do have a mental health team within our district. Virginia's part of that. And we continue to monitor. We're watching that very closely. We were struggling. Kids today are struggling with issues that we did not see 10 years ago. and it's going to continue. And so it's a concern not just here for us. It's a concern across the state. I was at a superintendent's meeting yesterday. There was a presentation on that very subject.
Across the nation, really.
And it's national. And a lot of it, I mean, I walked to the high school and every kid has their phone out. Mine included, I'm sure. So but I mean, it's their and so and that is, there's a lot of different components going on here, and then the social media and the separation. I mean, some people had been home 18 months, and now they're returning. But overall, it's been the initial returns are. It's good to come back and interact and be around people. The initial part was the high level of anxiety that I'll admit I felt when I walked into a gym full of people at JP Knapp. And then once you get that comfort level, you start to normalize again. There's something very healthy.
One of the teachers told me that at the freshman orientation at the high school that she was walking around and saying, "You can go now. If you have your riders here, you can go." And they're like, "We don't want to go. We want to visit with our friends. We want to talk to everybody." And I was at the high school this week and talked to several different classes, and I was like, "Are you glad to be back?" And they're like, "Yeah, we don't care. We have to wear a mask. We just want to be back in school."
Right.
What are your thoughts, Daniel
That's
and
what I was
Albert?
going to ask you.
Yeah, I think that honestly everyone is just really happy to be back, and I can see that across the board. And I'm lucky to be involved in a lot of different organizations within our school, and I think that people are super excited to have the opportunities such as joining clubs. That has been a big point of excitement for everyone. There's a great place for everyone to find their home and their set of people. So having those opportunities this year has been great, and I've seen everyone really excited about that. So I think from my standpoint, everyone has been super happy to be back no matter the circumstances.
Thank you. How about you, Albert?
It's I think it's really cool to have those student-to-student, student-to-teacher interactions, and it establishes that connection that you really can't have virtually. Whether it be the labs, the homework, if you have a problem with the homework, you have the teacher right there to resolve it sometimes. Even with the mics or the keyboard, it's really hard to type your issue or express it. With that in-person interaction, the teacher can more facilitate your issues directly. So I'd say it's a lot better.
Good.
Good.
Thank you for your input. Ms. Arrington, as always, we thank you for your hard work and everything that you're doing. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Angela Rodriguez, our school nutrition director, will give us an update concerning school nutrition.
I was asked by Dr. Lutz to come up and kind of give a review of the department. I want to first start by letting you know the struggles that we have. It's like everybody else with transportation. We have the struggle with staff. I am still down probably about 4 or 5 people. We're kind of stretched thin. The beginning of the school year, kind of the end of the summer, we were low on food supply, low on supply. We're making changes to the projected menus on top of the pressure USDA had where we have to do our minimums again. Every child has to have a fruit on their plate again. I have to make sure that the menus meet the minimum red, orange, lagoon. I have to make sure the caloric is there. I have to make sure the sodium is there. So there's a lot of stress that's factoring in on all this, on top of the fact that I wanted to share some numbers with you all. I pulled September of 2019. We served 17 days. That was the last time we were normal. So we served 17 days in September. We served 11,401 breakfasts and 20,387 lunches. That was an average of about 670 a day for breakfast. Wow. I'm going to focus on breakfast because we all know that breakfast is a very important part of the meal for the day to start your brain going. So September 2021, we served 13,563 breakfasts in just 12 days. So we increased almost double. It's about 1,130 meals a day that we're serving. I'll break it down into schools. Shawboro serves almost twice as many breakfasts than they do lunch. So I'm looking at the numbers to try to figure out where everything has changed. I focus on The 3 schools that are early schools have higher breakfast participation. So it makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
You don't want to roll them out of bed too early.
Right.
So let the school feed them. We're glad for that. The numbers I'd really like to focus on are my high school numbers. So how we can get them coming in. And I'd like to say that we normally on average about 280 to 320. We're up to 440.
Oh, good.
So,
Okay.
and that's just within the 7 days in August and 12 days in September. So I do project that that's going to increase as we go. My problem with that is, and Daniel could tell you, is we're not running the registers right now because we don't have the staff to do so.
Right.
So we station and we make sure they have and we let them go. That gives the students time to come in and out quicker. That lets the kids have their social time
Yeah.
as well, because that's a mental thing as well. So we will be implementing registers potentially next week. If that is not a success, we will not register again. So just be patient. I would like to state a huge thank you to our building administrators. A lot of times they get forgotten, but they are extremely patient with us. They are extremely involved, so they know when we have staffing struggles. I'll email them real early in the morning. I'm so sorry we had to pull somebody from your school to go to another school. Would you mind having your custodian staff look into that for me? And they've jumped on it. Miss Fallon's school has been wonderful the last week. The absences are not because of COVID related. It's resignations, relocations. I just can't get people to come in to do interviews. So I want to thank the building administration. I'd also like to thank the parents for their continued patience with the menu. I have never, in my 10 years, realized how important my menus are to parents. So I do really, truly appreciate the patience and the changes, because I usually do a monthly menu, which planners love that. However, with the changes, they don't like to plan with the changes, so I'm doing weekly menus, and I'm trying to release them on Fridays, which then they can shop on Saturday, Sunday if their student doesn't want to eat with us next week. The reason for that is because we get our trucks on Tuesdays. So there may be still some changes coming, but we're going to do what we can with that. And I'd also like to personally thank Dr. Lutz and Miss Renee. They get my texts where I'm panicked and freaking out, and his last one was patience. That was the only word he said, and I was like, that was wonderful. So thank you for that, because I have a tendency, I like to stay in the shadows. I don't like to be invited. I love you all, but I would prefer just to send you an email. But so thank you, Dr. Lutz, for the patience that you have with me on that. I also would like to remind family members, this is what the application looks like this year. There are some green ones still floating around. Those are not for this year. And unfortunately, if you take the time to fill it out, I have to send it back and ask for a blue one. We color them so that it's easy for you to distinguish. So staff and schools are supposed to dispose of the green ones. It's only this color for this year. And at the top, it'll tell you the school year, 21-22. I'd also like to stress, because there are some parents that they fill it out, and then when it comes to the income part, they go, we make too much. And they went through all that process. If they want to save their time, I kind of pulled out, we normally have 2, 3, and 4 are our classic family sizes. So if you are a family of 2 and your income is below $32,227 a year, make an application, because you know that you're going to come in. If you're over that, it's okay. If you're also on a weekly basis, it's $620 a week. So if you're getting $620 a week, please fill out an application. All students eat for free. I do want to stress that this year. All students eat breakfast and lunch for free. The applications are more to assist us in other budgetary areas. Title I, technology, and Dr. Lutz can probably tell you a few other areas to it. And unfortunately, right now, when I pulled our data for this afternoon, I have only received 19% applications in the district. In my office, it feels like, what? Because my stack is huge. We have to hand enter them right now. But 19% is not going to help us. We only have one school, Dr. Lutz, I haven't even shared the data with you, that's 42%. Everyone else is below that. We have probably 3 or 4, Dr. Lutz, that are usually above that number. So it really, really, really is important for family members to please either email my office and I'll mail you a copy, go online to currituckschoolmeals.com and pull one down, print it, and fill it out and return it. You can return it in an envelope to keep your privacy there. Put it to the teacher, send to cafeteria. They'll take that envelope, won't open it, send it directly to the cafeteria, and then they'll come to my office. Everything is secure and private, This isn't data that gets shared with anyone else except for me and the use of me. Dr. Lutz can come and I will not share any data with him. Everyone's information is protected that way.
I can see how the parents are confused with that, because since they are receiving, all children are receiving free breakfast and lunch, they don't,
Why do they have to?
they don't
Exactly.
understand why they would fill out that form, but they don't realize we need to have that in order for our funding to continue. So how can we get that out to the parents to let them know it's not for the purpose of just getting free and reduced lunch, it's for data purposes?
Melissa has been helping me greatly in her new position
Okay.
to push out the information.
Good.
As much social media coverage that anyone can give me. When you're on my website and you see something, tag it and push it along. All the schools are really good at that as well, tagging anything that we post. The main webpage is good at that. It's really word of mouth to let them understand it's still just as important.
Right.
We get a pull down of direct cert students, which are automatic qualifiers, but that number is about 3% of our students. So it really is beneficial to budgetary needs. And it also, if this doesn't carry over for next year, your first 30 days of the next school year are what your status is right now. So we will accept applications up until the last day of school. So please just send them in. If you have any questions on the applications, call my office. If you speak a different language and need help, the backside is in Spanish. My last name is Rodriguez. I do not speak Spanish.
That's right.
But we have resources where I can get that information to you.
Yes.
If you're better at emailing me, please email me. I won't disclose private information through the email, so I'll probably pick the phone up and call you. I've been known to take my work phone and text families because the voicemails are full. So please, and the main thing I always have to call, please sign the application. There's 2 spots, a printed and a signature. Dr. Lutz may be familiar, we get audited if there's not a signature. So please make sure you sign those because I cannot process them without that. It asks for the last 4 of your social or a spot if you do not have a social. All that does is allow me to enter the data in. It's a required piece of information. Nothing else happens there. I promise this information is just to process free, reduced, or paid student status. That's it. But I'm always at the office, sometimes too much, but call me. I might be able to distinguish differences in it. And if you all are out in the community and get approached by questions, please feel free to give me a holler and let me know. But we're feeding kids, which is wonderful.
That's
Every
right.
time my high school manager, who's new, she goes, we did 350. We did 400. I didn't even have to plan for 550. I was like, that's great. But we have 4 people right now. So if you are looking for a job.
Well, I was just going to say, we have a greater appreciation for your
Yes.
staff members after
Convocation.
convocation when we were serving. And we didn't cook. All we did was just serve.
You all did a fabulous, and sub-applications are online.
That's right.
But thank you, Dr. Lutz, because that was a window into
It was
our,
fun.
just
Well,
a
it was
small
nice to
window
see
into us.
the,
It was fun. It
all the
was fun.
teachers and staff
Yeah.
that came through the line, put a name with a face. And
And we have a lot of teachers stepping up, helping us get the lines going faster so that we aren't slowed down. So we want to extend our staff a thank you for everyone else in their participation in the program. We can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah. One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the favorite meal for the high school student?
Orange chicken.
Well, that's something I can't get right now, which is a chicken patty. Whoever thought you can't get a chicken patty?
Okay.
But if you go to a restaurant right now, they'll say, oh, well, you don't have patties, but I can give you 2 strips instead. That's why. Chicken patties are hot
Okay.
commodities right now.
All right.
Our baked spaghetti is a dreaded day for my staff, but students
But they
seem to
enjoy
like
that.
Corn dog nuggets.
Oh, okay.
That was the one that
I'm
kicked her over
surprised.
400.
I
so.
thought it would be the orange chicken.
Well, sometimes it doesn't taste quite like the restaurant style.
okay.
So, yeah. But I just like the fact that they're eating with us. So please
Yes.
encourage your students, if they don't like all of what's on the dish, please just try it.
Yeah.
Because the more they try it, the less you have to pack a lunch.
Right. That's true.
So Dr. Lutz, do you think we could get the percentages up if we offered like ice cream to the school?
Not allowed to
the
do that.
largest percentage?
Like we
We're
used
not
to do.
allowed to do that. Oh,
can't-
boy.
we can't
Only
give
if I
them
do it
anything.
after lunch is served. So.
Listen, Dr. Lutz.
Could we? Yeah, there you go.
This is tricky. These are tricky times, and we know the wheels of government turn slowly. And so here we are, 18 months in, and we're still, even though we have free lunch for all, we're still
Yeah.
It's really confusing.
It
and
is
so there's
very.
the fear that when we return to some normalcy, that, oh, we're going to pick up these numbers. And these are directly tied to federal funds, and those dollars are very important to our district. So, Angela, thank you.
You're welcome. I would like to address the water issue. At lunch, we are required to provide water to our students. We do have bottled waters. They are only the 8-ounce bottled waters. However, each student is allowed, yes ma'am, each student is allowed to have a bottled water. And particularly at Knott's Island, because of the well water there, we have provided water for Mr. Goins. So he gets water from us to provide when the students need it as well, so.
Okay, great,
Yes,
thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, transportation update. Renee Dowdy, our Assistant Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of our Transportation Department, I'm going to give a quick update. As with every school year, probably the number one most hard to swallow issue is school transportation. And yes, we had 18 months to plan for this new school year, and yes, we should have had everything in line, and nobody knew that we have developments that still don't show on Google Maps, and we're trying to find roads and routes and all that other stuff. So as it is, we had plenty of bumps and kinks and still continue to this day to have bumps and kinks with transportation issues. But the department did want me to share a couple of updates that have happened since the start of the school year. As you know, we were short drivers to start the 2021-22 school year. That is not abnormal just to Currituck County Schools. In fact, Massachusetts has called in the National Guard to begin driving students to school because this issue is across the nation. And it's scary for us because we do live close to the Hampton Roads area who are just putting out, alerts about how short they are drivers, and we worry about drivers hopping across the line as we do teachers hopping across the line to make $12,000 more a year in starting salary. So it's been a little daunting of a task, but we have hired 5 new drivers currently already with their CDLs. 3 of those have their CDLs already. We do have 3 drivers who are in training right now as we speak to finish their coursework. Then we'll have to drive to get their certification for their CDL. And we do have another driver who's also, in addition to being hired, will sign up for the classes at the end of this month. So there are new bodies on board in the transportation department to help get our kids to and from school. Buses, now that we've started school, one of the things that has helped is now we actually have a count of actual ridership. For those folks that signed up for the bus, a lot of times parents didn't know they were supposed to sign up for the bus because they've always ridden the bus. And then some families sign up for the bus and never ride the bus. So now that we have an accurate picture of ridership, or at least somewhat of an accurate picture, we've been able to combine routes, make sure that we have buses running at capacity, and where we've been able to steal a bus from a school that maybe wasn't running at capacity, we've reassigned that bus to a different school to help with the double routes. To my knowledge, as of today, we are no longer running any triple routes, which is a plus. We still do have a couple of double runs that are happening, and our drivers, they've been superheroes. I know Superhero Day is at Griggs tomorrow, and all of those bus drivers deserve capes because they've stepped up and have been willing to take the charge of, hey, whatever it takes to get these kids to school. Communication's been an area that we still can improve upon. I mean, we own that. It's hard when a driver receives a notification that perhaps their child has tested positive or been exposed, and then last minute we're having to make a bus change. And so our principals have done a yeoman's job, as Ms. Rodriguez talked about trying to get that information out as timely as possible to our parents. But it's not always easy. And again, it's not an excuse. We own it, that we can do better with the communication part. But we're still working on that. And I think our principals have really taken on that task and tried to improve that communication. There's some other long-term fixes that we're looking at. We did get some help into our transportation department who's had some experience with TIMS and route management, and to help us look at the efficiencies of our routes. And so there are some long-term things where we may look at some additional changes to our bus routes. We'll communicate those well in advance of any changes to our parents so that they know that that's coming. But we do feel like between the high school, Currituck Middle School, and JP Knapp routes, we have some ways that we can improve those routes to make them more efficient. So hopefully we'll hear some of that coming up shortly as well. So again, we've been able to also modify some of our EC buses. As you know, some of our students require specialized transportation that requires not only a driver but also a monitor on that bus. Typically, we run those EC buses with wheelchair lifts because in certain circumstances they may require wheelchair access. At this point, we do not have all buses needing a wheelchair access. Well, if you take the wheelchair access off the EC bus and replace it with a different bus that doesn't require the wheelchair bus, that adds more seats on the bus. So for those EC routes that do not require wheelchair access, we've taken that bus and put it to the side and put in a regular bus, still with the monitor and the driver, and EC students assigned to that bus, but it fits more students. So we're able to carry a few more students. So that's helped also in a few respects. So again, still not perfect, still plenty of room for improvement, and we're going to work on that and making sure that our communication, at the end of the day, I think parents just need to know what bus their kids are coming on, what times they're going to be there, and if we can continue to communicate that, then we can't help that we still have to run double runs, but at least parents can rest assured knowing where their kid is, what time to expect them home or picked up in the morning.
I know one time we required all newly employed custodians to get a bus license. Do we still do that? And are there any other employees?
Absolutely. Every custodian, and I can speak for the high school, and in fact, as I was principal there, we had to have our custodians have CDLs. They're all driving. We have literally used every person that has a CDL is driving for us right now. But yes, you're right. We've asked, at one point we asked coaches to do it. Not all of them are required to have the CDL. That might be the only one that's not. But we asked some of our TAs to have those. But every custodian we've asked to have a CDL to help us out. We've actually had teachers at the end of the day get on a bus and drive students home. In all honesty, last week we had to employ some of our teachers who happened to do some extracurricular stuff on the side, like coaching, and they've been willing to hop on a bus and help us transport students home.
Well, there was a day and time here in Currituck years ago when I first came here that students drove most of the buses.
Students drove the bus.
I am not condoning that. I'm not sure that that's still a great option
I was just
anymore,
getting ready to
Dr.
say, that
Dobney.
might tell Dr. Dobney's age.
Yes.
One thing that you mentioned was
Thanks.
the 18 months to plan. It's very easy to plan the routes and have the names and, but when you put warm bodies on a bus, it's a whole different deal because especially elementary, they don't know exactly, where their stop is. Just that's a big deal.
Well, Dr. Luce and I talked too. I think we kind of got lulled into not really truly comprehending the growth factor in the sense of what it does to transportation because last year we didn't start school. Everybody was remote. And then when we phased in with elementary. And then when we phased in with some of our middle school students and we were never at full capacity.
Right.
So I don't think we really knew the significance and the impact
And some of
what
those
it would look
streets are
like.
in cornfields.
Well, Miss Jones, we frequently get calls and they're like, we can't figure out, and then we're looking for addresses and we still can't even find them hardly on the map. So it's been a perfect storm and we own it, and it's not been what we expect of ourselves, and we'll continue to improve upon it.
Yeah.
What about the GPS system?
So here comes the bus app. Again, it's one of those, it works when it wants to and it doesn't. We have two, and I think you have contracts in your packets of some other software programs that we're looking to employ on our buses. The thing of it is, if my kid rides bus 8 in the morning, but in the afternoon it's going to be bus 12, that app doesn't work for me. And if the bus changes every day, which it has been quite frequently, it doesn't really work for me. So we typically don't deploy them into like full working fashion until we get through the kinks of the first couple of weeks. Just because I'd tell you your kid's riding bus 12 and then it could be bus 17. And so it doesn't really matter that you can track bus 12 because it's not doing anything for you.
That can be a
And
mess.
I'm glad Ms. Dowdy pointed that out as well. We're running almost 670 students at Mayock Elementary, and Scarborough has over 600. They're pushing 620, and so that really stretched us. Those buildings only ran at about 500 last year, with parents opting to go virtual, and so these were added stressors.
Yeah, I see it in the drop-off line still. I still drop my kids off in the morning, and usually by the second week, I'm like rolling. I'm still sitting in traffic 4 weeks into the start of the school year because we just have that much more volume.
What is the plan for the rest of the year, because there's a lot more houses under construction right now, are we getting more buses?
We're monitoring each one as they come in. There are some things that we know we can do better in the future, just in terms of our routing. We're averaging the number of students coming into Mayock Elementary or Charborough. We feel it's manageable.
So our buses are not at capacity?
We have, again, as Ms. Dowdy pointed out, people sign up and then don't use the bus. And so seats there's false holds on those. Unrelated but unrelated, if anyone knows a mechanic, we are looking for a mechanic desperately.
A mechanic, please.
Diesel?
Diesel mechanic.
Diesel, really. Yes, we are like many other.
Hopefully they can work in the cafeteria too, right?
And drive a bus.
Miss Dowdy, before you step down, I'm sorry. I know we talked about this, but just to put it out there for the family, can you just touch real quick about the calendar and how the early release Fridays, because of some of these months, and I know October's coming up, so you may get these calls, it's not really every other?
Yeah, so there were questions about, is the calendar right online? Because we thought it was every other Friday. So when we proposed our calendar, it was to add early release Fridays. And what we've done is tried to do 2 a month when it made sense. Obviously, November is one of those months. We have Veterans Day, we have Thanksgiving holiday. So it's one of those months that we don't have 2 Friday early releases in there, or December, because obviously we've got Christmas break in there. So the calendar was designed to try to give 2 Fridays a month of early release time for the work that you just heard Ms. Hodges talk about, as well as strategic plan work, as well as intervention to address those learning losses that we've talked about. So it's every other Friday. The calendar's right online. That's what I want to say. So that calendar that's posted is the correct calendar. So you'll notice that tomorrow is an early release Friday. And then we also have a remote learning day coming up, and we'll be sending out messages to our families through Bright Arrow just as reminders of those things coming up. But the goal was to try to provide 2 Fridays a month when possible of that early release time.
Great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Dowdy. Next, we have our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Well,
I do have one correction to make.
All right.
And that is in the August 5th Board of Education meeting. And corrections under the public comment session, Robert Griffin, a CCHS teacher, spoke on the opening of the 2021 school year. And then I would drop down, and it was reported that he said students need to be accumulated back into the building. And Robert's here, and I talked to him, and the word that he used was acclimated.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could change accumulated
All right.
to acclimated.
Ms. Jones, could we go ahead and make that change and update the minutes? And then, Ms. Rose, you had a policy question that you wanted to maybe...
Yes, I just wanted, and golly, I can't find it right in front of me right now, my goodness.
4,400?
It's item 7, yes, 4,400. I would like for that to be on, I guess, the next agenda until we come up with a plan for makeup work. Do we clarify that? What do you think, Dr. Lutz?
Well, this is only the second reading anyway.
Okay. So is this, I thought this was approval of these.
Meeting was the approval.
Yeah.
I think we all, I thought we agreed that this attendance policy is the policy we like, but we want to put parameters, that's our word of the day.
Yeah.
Parameters around the makeup work.
Right.
And so we will bring to our next board meetings those parameters, but we need to move forward on the attendance piece.
That's fine.
Okay.
Just so we bring those parameters back to the board so we can have say on it.
Yes.
Yeah,
We will do
because it
that.
said the superintendent will report those parameters.
Yes.
We'll bring the parameters for the
Okay.
next
We
work
do
session.
need to act on it tonight.
Okay, well,
Okay.
then.
Okay,
it will
do I
be
have
the
a
whole-
motion that we approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. Information items. We do have an upcoming work session, October 21st, at the Knapp Professional Learning Center at 4 p.m. And then our regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting will be held that evening at 6:30 here at the Currituck County Historic Courthouse.
Daddy's birthday.
Ms. Peters, will you give us your closing remarks?
Sure. I just wanted to start out by saying that I'm very thankful that our kids are back in school. We've been back. And I want to thank the parents and families and the community for being patient with us. As we've said many times, it's an ongoing, changing thing, and we make changes suddenly, and we appreciate that. And, of course, any parents or families who reach out to us, thank you. I know we all take the time to read them, and we appreciate your input. So I spent the day today, most of it going to most of our elementary schools, and that was really a lot of fun. The kids are really excited. Like we talked about, they're resilient. It's just like you can feel the energy in the air. They're all happy to be there, even though they have the mask on. And I think I did ask every principal, how was the transition? Was everything okay? And they all had the same upbeat response. Yes, they're all doing well, and so I'm happy to know that. And we know what the community wants. We know what parents want, and we will always keep looking at that. Today in the work session, I know we talked a lot about our nurses. I want to thank our nurses. They have really taken on, when we talk about things that they didn't know they would be doing, they probably didn't know they would have this much of a workload even a year ago. I know they're very busy every day, so I know we appreciate all that they do. And Ms. Arrington, I know she's very busy. And then also today with our presentation earlier about our plan, I think the data shows about how we are moving forward. We know how COVID has impacted us, but we also mentioned a lot in the work session about our gratefulness to the county commissioners for giving us these new positions for the instructional coaches, and I think they're going to help a lot with moving us forward. So we're all very excited about that. So thank you again to them. And of course, I just wanted to express my deep sympathies to the family of our Currituck County Middle School student, Julie Randall. That's just a heartbreaking thing. And even to the students and staff at Central, she had just left there from last year, and to all the students and staff at Currituck County Middle School. So I know lots of thoughts and prayers are with them.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Ms. Rose?
I, too, would like to extend sympathies to the family of Julie Randall. I know it's just so heartbreaking. It's just so nice to see everyone back, students, faculty. I'm very happy to see our students, that they are able to participate in the clubs and the fall sports and band, and FFA was able to have a plant sale, JP Knapp, FBLA, racking up the awards, as we heard in the spotlight tonight. I was able to attend Dr. Durham's senior breakfast, class of 2022, and everybody was so excited. All the seniors were so proud, and it was really a great event. I hope we continue with that. I want to say I appreciate all the parents and staff members who reach out to me and share their concerns. And I'd like to give a shout out to all our faculty and staff members who have worked so hard trying to get our school year off to a good start. And a special shout out to Ms. Arrington and our school nurses who are working extra hard as they deal with COVID and all the regulations associated with it.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Ms. Kraft?
Yes. So I echo Ms. Peters and Ms. Rose's comments about welcoming the teachers and being thankful for everyone and all that they've done to make this year start off good. I visited all the schools this month, but Sunday I was introduced to a new member of our church, and turns out she's a COA math professor, and I wish that JP Knapp was still here, but she told me that she's a math professor at COA and how well prepared our students were that were coming from JP Knapp. So I'll be sure to stop in and tell them that. So at Convocation, Ms. Peters and I walked around the school at Currituck County Middle, and we commented on one of the atrium areas and how it was weedy and looked like it hadn't been attended. So last week I was there and I noticed that it had changed and looked better. Turns out that the ag teacher, Ms. Cartwright's room is right next to it, and she had asked the maintenance department not to do anything with that because she wanted the students to know that pulling weeds was a part of farming and life skills. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I did stop by and buy some plants from the FFA, and I also want to congratulate Madison and Anita for all their accomplishments with at JP Knapp. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft. Dr. Dobney?
Yes, I too would like to express my condolences to the families of Julie Randall. I'd also like to wish our administrative assistant, Yvette, a happy birthday today.
That's right. Yay.
She says she is 39 and holding.
There you go.
I had 21.
I enjoyed serving the teachers and staff breakfast at Convocation, as did all of you. I'd like to thank the teachers, staff, students, and parents for helping provide probably one of the smoothest openings that you could expect under the circumstances. I talked to a parent, and this parent just happened to say her student is in the high school and says, Dr. Durham communicates better than any other principal her child has ever had, which I thought was a real good comment.
He's incredible. He really is.
Thank you. And real quick, I'd like Renee to come up. She's going to share some of my comments here. I'm still on this kick about, getting a vocational track and vocational report on the state report card. And since she was principal at the high school, I just want to know in 25 words or less, how can they only give me so much time.
I know Dr. Luce is ready, like, okay, I'm counting for seconds, not like words.
How can we save so many students? And I think we usually lose, about 15% of our students from the time they're freshmen to seniors?
So, yeah, our four-year cohort graduation rate was, I think, right about 83-88%, somewhere in that range. And again, that was during a pandemic, so I take it for what it is. But
so how could we save some of these kids to drop out of school if we had, a vocational track? And
so I think we get into education because we look at every child as an individual. And so personalizing education is critical to saving kids and helping them to see the value in their education. And for some, that doesn't mean college and university bound. It doesn't mean that we don't have to have a rigorous curriculum for them. It just means that their rigor looks different than the rigor that Daniel's might or Albert's might.
Right.
And so, we've articulated long and hard, both you and I, and as well as other members of this board, that diploma track options are an important thing because there is no one-size-fits-all model when we're talking about kids.
Right. And even though that's what North Carolina has, is a one-size-fits-all
Virginia,
diploma.
our neighbor, has 5.
5? Jeez. And then my last comment, does it look like we're going to hit the 1% threshold to get additional funding for additional students this year?
It looks like we will.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Dobney. Dr. Lutz?
Again, my condolences to the Randall family and especially her brother Ethan, who tragically had to witness that terrible accident. We appreciate the increased police presence on our road, and emphasizing the school zones, and to slow down and stop being distracted. That is what the Randall family is going through. I would not. Having children of my own, it was quite. I don't know there aren't words to describe witnessing and seeing and the loss and where they're at. And so we if you, again, 1 o'clock on Sunday, if you'd like to come out, and there'd be a nice tribute to Julie. She was a special girl. She's also an organ donor, and so her life will continue to.
I think they said at the funeral, how many lives? 100?
100.
100.
Yep. So,
that her organs would.
Shifting gears, we were talking about thanking different groups. I decided that I just want to tell the employees of Currituck County, I appreciate you coming to work. I do, and we are short-staffed in all of our support departments. We have been short-staffed as we've been riding at 10 buildings. We have not increased our maintenance department. We have not increased in school nutrition and in other areas. And you really feel the strain when you lose a few people and we increase the number of students. And so I appreciate everyone who comes in and does, and it's just coming to work. And we see all the help wanted signs. And I believe we are actually, despite some of these different stresses and strains, we're in a much better place than many school districts. Yes. And it's a pleasure to work and support this community. And I wanted to put that out. I had the word patience, and we need to continue to exhibit that with each other as, again, our enrollment keeps growing, and that adds just different stresses and strains. We have one plumber for the entire district.
Wow.
And so these are things, as you start peeling things back and planning for the future, they're all part of our plans, and we all play a part in making our schools a success for our students, and no one does one another. And again, happy birthday, Yvette.
Well, you know, if we had a vocational track to a diploma, we might have a couple plumbers.
Yeah,
or electricians or
That's
HVAC
right.
people.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Lutz. I, too, want to just let the Randall family know that we care. What a tragedy to lose this little angel that was one of our students. While attending the funeral on Tuesday, the thought went through my mind, how can I explain this to my grandchildren that are the same age that one of their friends has lost her life? And then the minister that day that gave the eulogy, he said her middle name was Hope. Here's Julie. Her middle name was Hope. And that made me think, during these times, during a pandemic, that's what we need to hold on to, is hope. So she has touched so many people's lives with her organ donation. My mother was a recipient of organ donation. They gave her a couple weeks to live, and a young man, unfortunately, was killed on a motorcycle, but he was a donor, and so she received his liver. And then 10 years later, of course, because of the medication, it affected her kidneys. So I'm one of 3 daughters, and we all volunteered to give her one of our kidneys because we were all 3 a match. And my oldest sister went through the surgery and gave her a kidney, and it prolonged her life for another 12 years. So I think of Julie, and I think of her family, and the minister that day, and he said, you know, our first thought is to get angry, and that's human nature. You get angry, even though you love God, and you know that we all are going to die one day. We have to have hope that this isn't the big picture. There's a bigger picture for all of us if we believe in Jesus Christ. So with that being said, I just want to let you all know that I hope you call your loved ones, go home, hug your kids, tell them how much you love them, because tomorrow is not promised for any of us. And with that being said, I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Have a good night. Yes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Yvette. Happy birthday to you. She keeps us all straight, and she does it with such class.
And grace.
Yes, grace, no stress. She just takes care of it.
Yeah, my present to her was that I didn't sing.